The scene is the Nashville Arena. Coming now, two Britons battling for one world title. The challenger is Scott Welch, the champion, Henry Akinwande, and at ringside at the moment, Glenn McCrory and Ian Dark.
Thank you very much indeed, Jeff. Welcome to Nashville, where it's cold and snowy outside, but it could get pretty hot inside here. The two fighters are in the ring. There's the gangling Henry Akinwande, whose life has been transformed in the last couple of years. And there's the tale of the tape for you. Now just look at the height there. Akinwande, the tallest fighter in the world, 6 feet 7 inches. Scott Welch, 6 feet 2. Surprisingly, only about 3.5 pounds between them. And that reach, 82 inches for Akinwande, is the longest of any heavyweight since Primo Carnera in 1934. These are the rules. 3 knockdown rule is in effect. Note that, the third one down there. The fighter can't be saved by the bell except in the last round. The WBO version of the World Heavyweight Championship on the line here in the new Nashville Arena. Akinwande, born and brought up in Dulwich. Scott Welch from Shoreham in Sussex.
This bout is sanctioned by the World Boxing Organization. The president in attendance, Francisco Valcarcel. Supervisor also in attendance, Jacinth Bryant. Along with the Tennessee Boxing and Racing Board, the director of boxing is John Hopkins. At this time, we present to you the judges. Scoring this bout from ringside, Rafael Lopez Santos, Eugenia Williams, and Stuart Winston. And presenting to you our referee in charge of this bout, we have Bill Connors. All right, fans, here we go with the big boys of boxing. The WBO Heavyweight Championship of the world, scheduled for 12 rounds of boxing. Introducing to you first the challenger on my left, fighting out of the blue corner, entering the ring wearing black trunks with multicolored trim, hailing from Brighton, England. He weighed in at 229 pounds with a record of 19 wins, 2 losses. He has 16 wins coming by way of knockout. Here is the former British and Commonwealth champion, currently ranked the WBO #1 heavyweight contender in the world, known as the Brighton Rock, introducing Scott Welch.
Big support for Welch here.
Across the ring, presenting the defending world champion on my right, fighting out of the red corner, entering the ring wearing solid black trunks, white lettering, from London, England, now residing in Tallahassee, Florida. His weight 232 pounds. His record is a fine one at 31 wins, no losses, 1 draw, and 19 wins coming by way of knockout. Tonight, making the second defense of his title, please welcome the defending WBO Heavyweight Champion of the world, the undefeated Henry Akinwande.
So as Bill Connors calls them to the center.
So we're all set to go here. Akinwande has proved in the last year or so, with those wins over Tony Tucker, Jeremy Williams and Alexander Zolkin, that he's right up there in the world's top 10. Is Scott Welch ready for this kind of test? Now Welch, Glenn McCrory, is trying the old mind games again on Akinwande.
Yes, that's his ploy. He's just trying to upset Akinwande, just trying to put him out of his rhythm a little bit. He's done this all week, and he's pulled it up quite a bit. He did seem at one point just to be getting to Akinwande that little bit.
I want a clean fight now. Any questions over here? Any questions over here? Protect yourself at all times. Press gloves. Good luck to both of you. Touch it. Hold it.
Referee is Bill Connors from Florida, due to go 12 rounds, of course. Welch weighing in at 16 stone 5. Akinwande here, 16 stone 8.5. Unbeaten in 32 fights. Second defense of the title, he won with an impressive third round victory over Jeremy Williams in June of last year. Is Welch ready for this? Now look out here, because I think Welch is going to really try to get past that big reach of Akinwande and try to rough him up. Can he do it though? Can he get past that long raking jab of Akinwande? And don't underestimate Akinwande's power either. with the right hand. Scott Welch, who many have seen as a kind of latter-day version of the old 60s ticket seller Billy Walker. He's certainly not that popular yet, but if he won this tonight, he might be on the way to getting into that league.
And already you can see how difficult it is for Welch to get to Akinwande. Akinwande already using that very long left lead, and that's a hard punch to get past.
Had a minor skirmish between the two of them at a press conference earlier this week. It was really handbags at 5 paces, to be quite honest with you. Welch's battle plan here is to try, I think, to take over in the second half of the fight. But he has to get inside, really brawl away. Body punches would be a big part of his plan. I think there's a possibility, if Welch is successful, that this might just be a wee bit dirty as well.
Yes, I think that's what he wants to try and do. He's got to try and upset him, just rough him up a little bit. But that's it's very difficult to do that, because to do that he has to get close to Akinwande. And you see already how difficult that is. Very long, good levers, and also he can punch with that right hand as well. So he can't afford to stay out too much, Scott Welch.
Akinwande, whose confidence must have risen dramatically now he's moved into the big money. Dominating so far in this opening round. Those punches just landing around the back from Welch. That's what Bill Connors, the referee, wasn't happy about.
I think really Welch's his best plans to try and put Akinwande on the back foot. He's allowing Akinwande in the early stages just to dominate behind that jab and push him backwards.
Akinwande a huge favourite here. Most of the experts think that he would probably stop Welch. But is this a story that might have a few chapters to come as we draw towards the end of the first round, which I think Akinwande will have won on the scorecards.
When you're looking for a holiday, look for a window with this sign, because where you look for access, now you'll find MasterCard.
Welcome back. There's Jim McDonnell, the trainer of Scott Welch.
You listen? Hold your hand when he comes, Scott. Move it with your hands up. Pressure him. Pressure him. Hands up. You listen? Hold your hand. Want it, Scott. Want it. Want it. First hand that way.
Well, you heard what Jim McDonnell was saying. Want it. And Jim McDonnell has been in at this kind of level himself. He fought as Zuma Nelson, I remember, and late in his career, Barry McGuigan as well.
McDonnell just wants Welch to pick the pace a bit. He realises he's staying out. He's been forced behind that jab. He's got to duck down low. He's got to try and get inside them long arms and start working to the body of Akinwande.
He's got to start slipping some of these jabs of Akinwande's as well, hasn't he? People have criticised Akinwande. They've said that he's slightly dull and non-charismatic kind of fighter, but he's pretty effective, and I wouldn't think too many people would relish getting in with him.
Yes, he will be a very hard fighter to beat. He's very tall, good leverage, he's got good boxing ability.
It's a big step up in class for Welch. Ooh, and there seemed there to be a head from what? Well, there was a butt definitely from Scott Welch there. and it looked a pretty deliberate one, to be quite honest with you. Akinwande suddenly glared at the referee as if to say, well, what are you going to do about that? He definitely nutted him.
Yes, he said he was going to make it rough, but that was a little bit too blatant.
Let him out.
Well, we did warn you. We did have a bit of advanced intelligence as well, but it could get a bit on the dirty side. That was a good left hook, wasn't it, from Akinwande?
Yes, already he's slipping into gear. He's finding Scott Welch pretty easy to hit.
No.
Welch probably feeling as if he needs a step ladder to land head punches.
Yes, I think he's really got to try and concentrate his attack on the body, but he's got to try and get in there first, and that proves not to be very easy. He's got to use a lot more head movement. Once he's just standing up a little bit too upright.
Alright, it's time to break for him. Let's go. Let him out. Step back, both of you.
Good stiff jabs from Akinwande, starting to let those right hands go as well. So far, it's the fight that the form book rather suggested, and Akinwande going in there. That's just a slip, I think, by Welch, no more. He looks up for this, doesn't he, Akinwande? We wondered how he might be non-motivated for this occasion, but he's doing very, very well indeed.
To celebrate a year of soccer excellence, a star-studded lineup is coming to Sky Sports. Live from the Wembley Conference Centre, your soccer heroes will be presented with awards that pay tribute to their dedication and achievement. The worlds of showbiz and sport come together for this glittering celebration. Don't miss the excitement as the winners are announced and the personalities who thrilled and entertained us receive their acclaim. The Panasonic Sky Sports Soccer Awards 1996, Sunday at 8:30 live on Sky Sports 1.
Round two, Henry Akinwande. Now there's the butt by Welch.
Yes, and that was too blatant. He said he's going to be rough, but that was very bad. And rightly he got a warning for that. But I think he's been a little bit frustrated, Welch. He just can't manage to get inside. Akinwande's catching him with a jab, looks very sharp.
Here's the third round. Welch needing to find a foothold. I think he's had the riot act read to him by Jim McDonnell again between the rounds, Scott Welch. Big disadvantages for him to overcome physically here, as well as the fact, of course, that Akinwande has been mixing at world level and Welch hasn't.
The second one is really starting to prove himself over the last couple of years. He's maturing very well, and he looks a real world-class fighter. He's right up there with the big names in the heavyweight division.
If he wins this, there's talk of him fighting the winner of the Lennox Lewis-Oliver McCall fight on February the 7th. That, of course, down the road. He has to get Welch out of the way first. So far, he's going the right way about it. Huge 86-inch reach paying off for Akinwande all the time as he snaps out that jab.
The Welch just running out of ideas.
Good right hand from Akinwande there. Welch felt the force of that all right. He is hitting harder, Akinwande, in more recent fights. He's planting his feet more. Big right hand, that one. Welch has only been down once in his career. That was against James Oyebola over here in the United States.
And this is a good performance from Akinwande. He looks very polished. Landing with good jabs, and that was a sensational right hand.
body punch with the right hand, this time sunk in by Akinwande, who looks sharp and full of confidence. At the moment, this is looking like mission impossible for Scott Welch.
It's looking very hard. He's got to try and get to Akinwande. He's got to try and catch him with a good shot. At this moment, it's all Akinwande.
Even over here, the cynical Americans are now beginning to speak of Akinwande as a British heavyweight who can really fight. There's another right hand from him. And Welch is not slipping very much at all. Big round again for Akinwande.
People that got lots of money, but this wasn't. It was worth every penny.
Meeting interesting people and going to interesting places. Tremendous.
The food's excellent. Just got to worry about the waistline, I think.
I was with about 20 brochures, and the air tour was fantastic value.
Whatever makes your holiday, we can make it happen. Air Tours, the holiday makers.
Welcome back. Well, they're saying in the Welsh corner, you've got to become the British bulldog here, but taking right hands like that, a pretty hurtful exercise for Welsh.
Jim McDonald telling him that he's showing Akinwande too much respect, but really, he just can't get to Akinwande. He's trying to get in, he's dipping his head, but he's been caught on the way in.
Fourth round so far, this going to script. Now Welsh, I think, is going to try to go for it in this fourth round. He has to do something here. And another pretty ill-tempered exchange inside. Now a second warning here from Bill Connors for Welsh, and he's getting near the point, Scott Welch, where the referee will be thinking of making a point deduction. And again, going in pretty dangerously with the head there, Welsh.
Yes, he's going in a little too wild. He's got his head down. He's going to get caught as he tries to charge in like that. He's got to go in moving, slipping the head, slipping the punches, and trying to land with punches as he comes out of the clinch.
Yes, he's got to kind of move on the way in, really, in the way that Joe Frazier did. Bobbing and weaving, a lot of head movement so that he's not picked off as he tries to close the range. But Akinwande seems quite happy to take it to him, doesn't he?
Yes, he's done that for the majority of the fight. He's not scared to push Welch onto the back foot. And he looks good when he comes forward.
Beginning to breathe heavily, Scott Welch. He's taken quite a lot, particularly that insistent jab. And Akinwande, just for good measure, finds another couple of punches from his repertoire. The left hand, then a right, thudding into the head of Scott Welch, who at the moment is looking out of his depth. Well, all Welsh, I think, can do, really, Glenn, at this point, is to somehow just hang on in there and hope that somehow the storm subsides.
When Welch tries to get forward, he always dips to the right-hand side. He's just teeing himself up for the big right hand from Akinwande.
Welsh is in desperate need, really, of one punch that might just turn things around a little for him. Something to make Akinwande think. Another very hurtful looking shot to the body. That will have knocked a lot out of Welch, who is breathing heavily. Left hook this time. And another one. And Welch at the moment has the look of a man, really, who's finding this all a little too much. He just cannot find a way of getting to Henry Akinwande.
He's been caught with good punches.
absolutely free. Uncensored sex, your A to Z of passion. Get this explosive love guide only in tomorrow's News of the World.
The gossip, the fiction, the script, the scam, the stars, the views, the news of the world.
Now listen, do your punches short, slip his moves and move in on him. When you find him with a jab, when you find him with a jab, you got him more.
Well, that's Jim McDonald doing the talking again to Scott Welch in the corner. They seem pretty calm.
Yes, but he's been caught with hurtful punches there, and these are good punches landing from Akinwande, and sooner or later they are really going to start hurting. Welch just he's just not getting his own punches off. He's got to try and land some punches. He's got to slip his head as he comes in and let punches go.
Fifth round. And on all scorecards, surely Akinwande will have won every round so far. You would have had to be wearing a blindfold to think otherwise. Now, what can Scott Welch do about this? There's a right hand from him, thrown from an unusual angle, then a body shot too. And again, going in with the head. And Akinwande again shooting glances at the referee.
Welch just can't depend on single punches. He's got to try and land combinations.
Well, Scott Welch was saying to me before this fight, it might not be pretty. I think he was going to try everything to try to overcome these big physical disadvantages of height and reach that he had in the fight. But I just wonder really whether that headbutt stirred up Akinwande even more.
That's right, that certainly seemed to get him in the mood, and he's come on top more and more as the rounds have gone on. He looks very polished. He's really letting that jab go well.
The plus point for Welch is that he is strong, and he's taken quite a lot so far, but he's still there.
Yes, he's trained very, very hard for this fight. He's obviously going to be in great condition. He's sparred with big, tall guys. He's done all the preparation right, but then he's in with a good quality fighter in Akinwande.
Yes, he's been sparring with the very tall Steve Garber, but with the greatest respect to him, it's a long way up from Garber to Akinwande. Akinwande very, very careful, you'll notice, to keep his head away from Welch when they get in close.
And Akinwande now more and more prepared to stand right in front of Welch, back him onto the ropes.
Last half a minute of the fifth round. So far, one-sided. Has Scott Welch got any surprises for us? Oh, there was a wicked-looking right from Akinwande. A sort of uppercut, come hook. Akinwande, born and bred in Dulwich, of Nigerian parentage, and he's looking a good fighter again here.
A high-tech heist.
Welcome to our nightmare. $100 million gone. Okay, 72 hours. Just do what you do, only faster.
2 cops, 1 mission.
I'll be back.
From the director of The Rock.
Don't be alarmed, we're Negroes. You guys are bad news. You always wanted to be a star for your
And the star of Independence Day. You look great. Will Smith and Martin Lawrence are Bad Boys. The encore screening, 10 o'clock Sunday on the Movie Channel.
Welcome back as we look again at this close quarter brawling in that last round, which Akinwande would have won again, Glenn.
Yes, it's becoming a little bit one-sided. Welch just can't get close enough. He can't get his punches off, and all the good work's coming from Akinwande, and he's got a big lead. I think he's won every round.
Sixth round, Akinwande, who's trained, by the way, by Don Turner, the man who was with Evander Holyfield when he caused that massive sensation against Mike Tyson. And he was saying to Akinwande between the rounds, he's an amateur compared to you. Go out and boss the fight. Oh, right hand, and that nearly had Welch down. His knees were buckled and he's in trouble here, Scott Welch. He did very, very well to stay up from that. And he's breathing heavily, and look at those gloves going down from Welch. I wonder if we're close to the finish here.
It certainly looks that way. There's nothing he's bringing back now, and it's all Akinwande.
Welch is groggy. Again, he comes up for a big, deep gulp of air. Another right hand, and I think Bill Connors, the referee, may step in pretty soon if it carries on like this. It's been Akinwande from start to finish.
Welch is looking tired, big gasps of breath.
Left hook, one to the head, one to the body from Akinwande. Welch is hurt again. He's shown courage, but really we're seeing the difference here between a world-class fighter and a domestic level fighter.
And again, Welch trapped on the ropes, nothing coming back from him.
Akinwande just really now, you feel, trying to pick the punches to find a finish. Clubbing right hand again. Akinwande, who really has come a long way from the days when he was on the dole and used to earn pin money cleaning the lions in Trafalgar Square. Well, this is really, really hard for Scott Welch.
Listen, don't start feeling sorry for yourselves. It's tough business. Right? Listen, focus. You're in that bubble. Listen, nothing. We don't care. It's a night's work. Now listen, just listen to me. Even if you throw one decent shot this round, do it for your baby. Pitch your shot. Try and nail him. Listen, you've got to throw decent shots. Find him little.
I think I'm loaded up too much.
Yeah, but listen, you're not saying nothing, Scott. You're letting him dictate. He's backing you up. He's getting your ropes. He's working you over.
What? Spit over there if you want to spit.
You listening to me? You've got to take the ball by the horns. Now listen.
Well, Jim McDonnell is trying hard to get Scott Welch into the fight somehow with some words, but it's easy for him to say and very, very hard for Welch to do.
Yes, he's just unable to get close. He's unable to let his punches go. And in that round, he barely threw a punch. He was just taking punches and thinking about defense. He's got to start throwing punches.
7th round. Can Welch respond to the pep talk from the corner? It's almost as if Akinwande is trying to beckon him in and then catch him on the way in.
And once again, just standing off. He just looks as if he's thinking about it all too much and just not letting it go.
Right hand again from Akinwande, thuds through again. Welch has to bite the bullet. Akinwande looks very composed and cool. He's that kind of an individual anyway, isn't he, out of the ring too.
This is the real professional performance from Akinwande. He's just doing the fight exactly as he wants it.
Another right hand. It's been a long time since we've seen a bad performance from Akinwande, isn't it?
Yes, he's looked really good. And again, there's nothing coming back from Welch, and he's just been teed up with the jab, and then the big right hands are landing.
Akinwande is not known as a hugely concussive puncher. Otherwise, I think the fight might already be over.
Oh, 2 good punches to the body, so his variety's good.
His work, though, has been sharp and accurate, hasn't it? Well, off balance, Welch. Welch is prepared for this fight with manic intensity, and he's needing all his conditioning in there. One-sided.
Very much so. He just can't get his punches off.
There is a powerful remedy for the 4 main symptoms of flu that is now also available as a hot drink. Benylin 4 Flu has the power to reduce a fever, relieve aches and pains, soothe coughing, combat congestion, and so aid restful sleep. Available without prescription. New Benylin 4 Flu hot drink for powerful flu relief.
Welcome back to the Nashville Arena, where Henry Akinwande is putting in a very dominant performance indeed in defence of his WBO heavyweight title against fellow Briton Scott Welch.
And that looked to be about the only shot that Welch tried to get off in that round, and he loaded up with it that much he almost threw himself off balance.
Round 8. One thing that the Welsh camp did think, Glenn, was that Akinwande may not have the heart if it came to a real trench warfare battle in the later stages, but to be honest with you, it hasn't been trench warfare, it's been all Akinwande.
Yes, it's been very, very one-sided, and he's really boxed as he likes. Good jab. You know, he's just got him on the end of that jab, and he's picking him off at will.
I don't know what the antidote to the Akinwande style is. It would need, I think, a faster heavyweight with more moves, wouldn't it, of this kind of size, or maybe an early Tyson.
That's right. Need somebody who's got good head movement, keeps that target on the move, but comes back with punches all the time, who can really work inside.
Again, right hand got through again from Akinwande. He's mixing up the punches pretty impressively. Welch again lets his gloves drop by his side, and significantly didn't move away from those ropes. I just wonder if the legs are beginning to stiffen, and now I think there's a little graze underneath his right eye. Welch, just signs of that face puffing up. He's had to take a lot. He's such a amiable, likeable chap, Scott Welch, and he's prepared so well for this, the biggest boxing night of his life. It's got to that point almost where you wouldn't really want to see him take too much more of this.
No, he's took some very heavy right hands. He's been worked over a good deal in this fight. You can tell he's frustrated at his own performance. He's worked so hard for this fight, and I think he's disappointed. He's not getting in there, and he's not getting any of his punches off.
at no stage yet has Welch even threatened to take a round. One or two of the neutral American fans here, I think, want to see something a bit more competitive. You can almost see the self-belief draining out of Scott Welch with every passing second.
Yes, he's been very, very confident throughout the build-up in training. He's really looked very positive, but you can see that, as you see, and just draining out of him. All the confidence is gone now.
Well, Henry Akinwande is so far pitching for a shutout. I have scored every round 10-9 to the champion.
Yes, and I think it's a disappointing performance from Welch, but a very good performance from Akinwande, who's just not allowing him to get close, not allowing him to throw punches inside, and using the jab very well.
As we look outside in Nashville, which they call the Athens of the South, it's been very, very snowy in these parts. Of course, big country music centre where the country stars churn out their hits.
But you got to make him fall, man. He's not going to lay down by himself.
You've got to make him fall, says Don Turner. He's not going to lie down by himself. Well, he's right about that.
There's maybe the feeling in that corner is they want Akinwande just to step it up a little bit, just to try and get the job done now.
Ninth round. Yes, I suppose if you were being very critical of Akinwande, you would say that if he really is got the ambition to be right up there alongside the Tysons and the Lewises and the Holyfields and the Bows, well, then he should be finishing this job.
Yes, he's completely dominated the fight, and I think that everybody's getting a little frustrated that he hasn't finished the job, and I think that that could be a disappointment from his camp.
Look at this Akinwande jab. We've seen about 8 of them so far in this round.
And when you see him really sticking the jab out like that, you've got to say it's got to be a good heavyweight that's going to get past that.
So far, Welch has never looked like finding the answers, though there he does land with a left hook. And Akinwande just held on for a moment now. Is that the start of something for Welch? Or was it just a flicker?
Well, it was the first time in the round he'd really got a punch off, and it was quite sharp. Nice little short, sharp left hook, which just seemed to connect well on the chin.
Well, we've seen a couple of fights in the past where one fellow has been winning every round, and then late on, the other chap has come up with a punch to just turn the whole thing on its head. Remember Carl Daniels and Julio Cesar Vasquez in the light middleweight division about a year ago. And that is Welch's only hope now, to find a knockout. Stepped off the gas a little bit so far in this round, Akinwande. Quieter round.
Yes, I think that's maybe what he lacks, to capture the public's attention in America. He really has to open up and cause a sensation with a good finish, and he needs to do that now.
Last few seconds of the 9th round, still pretty one-sided, though that was a quieter round. You've heard what Glenn McCrory, sitting alongside me, is thinking of it. What about Gary Mason back in London? Gary, what do you think?
Well, I think Henry's boxing very, very well, using his reach and everything else.
but Scott isn't actually doing anything, and Jimmy's not telling him exactly what to do. So Henry's just being predictably Henry, but Scott, because he's not actually doing anything, hasn't done anything, he's not making the effect that he could make. Jimmy should be telling him what punches to throw and how to throw them, because that's the inspiration that Scott needs at the moment. But all fair dues to Henry, he's doing what he does best. He's using his reach, he's boxing well, and he's winning, you know?
Thanks a lot, Gary. He certainly is winning. Henry Akinwande. That was the best punch of the contest from Welch.
It was, but you see straight away Akinwande just ties up and doesn't allow Welch to get off with any more punches.
Akinwande really has had some good wins, but the only blemish on his record is a draw with Axel Schultz back in 1992 in a European title fight, and most observers there felt that Akinwande had won the fight. Nobody's beaten him. In fact, his last defeat, Akinwande, was against Arnold van der Leyen, the Dutchman, in the 1988 Olympic Games, and that was a split decision. Well, you have to say it's been a disappointing performance by Welch.
Yes, at no point has he managed to slip the jabs. He can't get inside, and there's just been such a lack of activity. He's hardly thrown a punch in the fight.
It's a bit cruel, but I think the word is outclassed. One danger possibly for Akinwande here is that he just becomes a little complacent. He'll have to keep his concentration. He's starting to pick off Welch with headshots. Well, the crowd becoming animated as Welch at least tried to come back with a right hand.
But it doesn't really look as if single shots will be enough for Welch. He's got to try and put them together in clusters. I think that's the only chance he has of connecting with a good punch.
There's a good right hand from Welch with his back to the ropes. Good shot. He needs a lot more of that. As the heads again brush together close in.
Yes, again, it was a good punch, but again a single one. He's got to try and put them together.
Nothing really that Welch has tried, or very little anyway, has paid off. His attempts to rough it up with Akinwande early on with the butt, that didn't work. It just seemed to send Akinwande into a slightly higher gear. Seconds to go in round 10. Don't forget, he's still got Kevin Lushing's bid for the world welterweight title here up against Felix Trinidad.
Again, towards the end of the round, a criticism with Akinwande. He just slips off the gas a little bit. He looked good at the beginning, but then his work rate just slackens.
Totally dominant. Henry Akinwande now lives in Tallahassee in Florida, though he does have homes in London and Nigeria as well. Very comfortable lifestyle since he's moved over here.
Don't go straight in. All he's doing is trying to con you. He's trying to survive. Take it slow. When you hit him good.
There's another good right hand. There's the one punch that come back from Welch, but it's single punches. He's got to try and throw more and more.
Look at Akinwande there. Bit of showboating from him. It's really the gesture of a man who feels in total control.
Yes, he's very confident. He's doing everything that he needs to do. He's just got him on the end of the jab and landing good punches.
Here's round 11. Scott Welch has been needing a stoppage or knockout in his favour for a long time. He's so far behind on points. We still have not given him a round.
Well, that's how I have it. I have it a complete shutout, everything for Akinwande.
So do I. Who doesn't? That was just a slip by Scott Welch. No knockdown. For all the punches that Akinwande has landed, he has not been able to put Scott Welch on the floor. He nearly did. He certainly buckled Welch's knees with one 2 or 3 rounds ago. Akinwande, who's 31 now, he must be wishing that he'd come over to America a little bit earlier on and started to enjoy the good times.
It looks as if he's learned so much from being over here. Obviously, he's getting good work in the gym, sparring with the best fighters, and it's starting to show. He's a very mature, he's a polished performer.
I think he's a bit bitter too about his time when he was in Britain and based in Britain. I think he feels there was a lack of recognition and a lack of profile there. Well, maybe we'll see him over fighting in London, defending this title. Because it does look as if he's going to hold on to it here pretty comfortably, unless Scott Welch can produce something quite sensational.
It certainly looks as if Akinwande is just content to see this out and just outbox Welch. And I think the crowd getting very frustrated about that. I think they want to see a little bit more work from Akinwande.
I must say Scott Welch has shown admirable resilience. No questioning his desire, commitment, courage and durability.
But the one thing he hasn't been able to do is just get his punches off, and that's what he needed.
Akinwande cannot put him away. Well, a few verbals between the fighters there as the bell went to end the 11th round. But it's not words that Welch needs.
Breathe deep. Breathe deep. As long as you use your head and fight and you win it. As long as you don't lose your head. Close when you come out. Well, we'll touch it. Can we get him? Can we knock him out this round? I want to see it. Waiting too long. I want to see it.
Don't work hard for 3 minutes. Yeah. Do me a favour. Do it for me if you want to do it for no one else.
You've got everything you've got now.
Scott, swing everything, mate. Come on, have a go for him. Do it for him. Bit of pride. Bit of pride. Bit of pride. Look at him.
Last 3 minutes.
Knock him out. Knock him out. Don't say no. Last round, Scott.
Well, they know the score. They're flashing a photograph of Scott Welch's 2-year-old son in front of him and saying, do it for him. Well, it's the kind of desperate psychological ploy that we've seen before. Can Welch respond to that?
And interesting, in the other corner, they're saying to Akinwande, they're frustrated. Can you knock him out this round? He said he could.
I think the words in the corner there just told you the story from the perspective of both camps here. Akinwande's people want a stoppage victory. Welch's people want any kind of victory, and they know it has to be a knockout now. But Akinwande's been around this business a long, long time, and I think that old cool boxing brain of his will be saying to him, hey, I've got this tied up, I'm just going to stay out of trouble here and box my way to the victory, and I'll still be WBO champion.
Yes, he's a very smart thinking fighter. He's not going to take any chances. If he has to do it behind the jab and maybe he doesn't get the KO win, he's happy with that as long as he wins and he goes on to defend his title again.
I tell you what, though, I want to see Akinwande in now with a Holyfield, a Lewis, a Bowe, Gallotta, Mora, Tyson. That, I think, is when we find out whether he can move on to the next bit.
Yes, I think he needs it himself. He needs one of the big fights to really bring the best out in himself. But he looks a class fighter who could deal with any of those fighters.
It's been a bridge too far for Scott Welch. Looks that way anyway.
Yes, even in this last round with all the motivation, all the talk from Jim McDonnell, he still can't get his punches going.
That cut underneath the right eye, just a bit worse for Welch. It's nothing for him really to worry about. It's the least of his problems, frankly. But at least it looks as if Welch will hear the final bell, which is more than Alexander Zolkin did when Akinwande last appeared on the Tyson Holyfield bill. More than Jeremy Williams did as well when Akinwande won the WBO title.
Yes, Welch has took the punches well. I think that's a credit to his conditioning and his work, but he'll be disappointed because he hasn't getting the punches off that he wanted to do.
Akinwande has just been too fast, too classy. Last 5 seconds, some boos from the crowd here in Nashville, and a left hand hurts Welch very, very late on. Still he wants to throw punches back. He gets a bit bad-tempered even after the final bell. Wow, look at this. Well, Scott Welch was trying to wind up Akinwande before the fight. And I think Akinwande had a few things boiling away inside there, didn't he? I think he was trying to say to Welch, well, there's my answer to you.
Yes, I think he felt that he gives Scott Welch a lesson, and I think he maybe he wanted a bit of respect at the end of that, and he didn't get that from Welch.
Well, a lesson it most certainly was. Scott Welch came in with a strategy, and he was a strategy that he found impossible to execute, really, against this huge, gangling beanpole of a heavyweight, Henry Akinwande.
And there's the rough stuff at the end.
You did good.
Well, I think Akinwande said to him, USA, so I don't know whether Akinwande regards himself as an American heavyweight now.
I'm not sure. I think he may be reacting to the jibes. I don't think he liked the jibes at the press conference that Scott Welch said. He didn't class Akinwande as a Brit, and he classed him as an American.
Bitter disappointment for Scott Welch, really. He worked so hard and for so long over Christmas and the New Year and long before for this fight. And Henry Akinwande is a heavyweight on a roll, and his next mission may be to take on the winner of Lennox Lewis v. Oliver McCall.
Yes,
now, are we going to see it? Hang on a minute, what's going on here now, Glenn? I think Welch is going to continue the argument here with Akinwande. There's the picture at the moment with Holyfield holding the WBA title, Mora IBF, Akinwande the WBO, and the WBC title is vacant until February the 7th, when Lewis and McCall meet. Glenn McCrory's scorecard, it's a shutout.
Complete shutout. Every round I gave to Akinwande, he was always there. There was nothing came from Scott Welch, so that's how I have it. Full shutout to Akinwande.
Which would be 120 to 108. That's how we've scored it, both Glenn and I. I wonder if all three judges had it that way as well. The belt is still around the waist of Akinwande. Don King in his Only in America jacket. Here we get the official announcement.
After 12 rounds of boxing here at the Nashville Arena, we have a unanimous decision. Here are the score totals. Our judge at ringside, Rafael Lopez Santos, scores at 119 to 110. Judges at ringside, Stuart Winston and Gene Williams, they both score the bout exactly the same, 120 to 108. All three in favor of the winner, and still champion, the undefeated Henry Akinwande.
Akinwande retains his title for the second time, and two of the three judges felt, as Glenn and I did, that he won every single round. Welch was never, ever in the fight. It was a facile task for Akinwande, and the only real question about him there was, well, should he have finished Welch? Well, maybe not. You can argue about that, but frankly, Henry Akinwande did a pretty professional job from my standpoint anyway. What about you, Glenn?
It was a very good performance. Obviously, if we're going to be completely critical, we could say that maybe he should have stopped him. He should have just upped his work rate and just looked for more punches, Akinwande. But certainly, I get disappointment from Welch. I think he'd be disappointed himself. He worked so hard. He got in tremendous shape, but he just couldn't let anything go on the night. Couldn't get close enough and couldn't get his punches off.
Frank Warren, Scott's manager,